Welcome to Canton, Ohio, home to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A Valhalla of stars from Peyton to Pearson to Megatron to Woodson. But today, our focus is on the stars of tomorrow, like A.J. Duffy, the Florida State commit, the #2 pocket passer in the country. And Tyler Booker, committed to Alabama, a top 10 player in the ESPN 300. It's star-studded IMG against Bishop Sycamore. Next. Welcome to the 2021 Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff presented by the United States Marine Corps. We are at Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. It's the final game of kickoff weekend. IMG Academy out of Florida, a powerhouse against Bishop Sycamore from Ohio. Anish Shroff, Tom Luganbill with you. And Lugs, last game of kickoff weekend. What are your big takeaways so far?
Really big performances, Anish. I think that's the one thing that stands out the most is the as-advertised premier players played at a big level. You look at Jordan James, the Georgia verbal commitment, had a big day in our first game on Saturday. And Connor Wegman, 8 touchdowns. Our #1 ranked pocket passer in this class, committed to Texas A&M. And I think for Zion Turner there at the top, he really upped his stock with his performance yesterday versus St. Francis Academy. And I think we've got to also mention Gunnar Stockton accounting for 7 touchdowns for Raven County's win last night versus Pace Academy.
A lot of star power for IMG. It starts with their head coach, Pepper Johnson, first year as the head coach, 13 seasons in the NFL, a couple of Super Bowls, 2-time Pro Bowler. And Luke, you've been doing this a long time. He's got one of the most star-studded rosters we've ever seen.
He certainly does, and it's not just with the 2022 class, it's also with the 2023 and 2024 class. These are the players ranked in the ESPN 300 in the 2022 class. We can't even fit them all on there. Another 4 also ranked in the ESPN 300. Then you go to the ESPN Junior 300, all right, you see another list of Power 5, elite Power 5 caliber players at multiple positions. So this program is stock full of great players that can fuel this program for years to come.
Roy Johnson, the head coach for Bishop Sycamore, they're a bit of a mystery in this game.
Well, they are a bit of a mystery of what type of team we're going to see. But the one thing we know about this infant stages program is that they are trying to help more kids have an opportunity to not only play high school football at a high level, but potentially to move on, get an education, and play scholarship level football in college.
It's an online-only charter school. First season of football was 2019, and we are in Ohio, so today we will talk about the top high school recruits in the state. Of course, we'll talk about Ohio State and the grounds that they've made on the recruiting trails, and then name, image, and likeness. We know now what it means for college athletes. What does it mean for high school athletes? We'll get into all of that throughout the course of this game. Bishop Sycamore will kick it off. It's J.J. Baum, and IMG Academy will receive. Carnell Tate has an opening. And finally taken down close to the logo at the 40-yard line. And that's where IMG will start on offense. It's a team with 9 ESPN 300 players, 11 in the ESPN Junior 300. A.J. Duffy, Luke's the quarterback, a Florida State commit, and one of the top pocket passers in this senior class.
Yeah, really strong arm. Unfortunately, missed his junior season, so getting back on the field, continuing to develop, can make all of the throws. I think he's a deceptively good athlete, and it will be interesting to see what type of one-on-one matchups they can create to showcase that arm downfield in the passing game.
On first down, the give is to Katron Allen, the Penn State commit. Part of the #1 recruiting class in the country right now. That belongs to James Franklin and State College.
Yeah, James Franklin, Penn State, just off and running in recruiting Katron Allen. We know that it's a loaded backfield at Penn State right now. They've done a wonderful job of recruiting that position. This is another load carrier, a power back. You saw him right there push the pile, break tackles within the line of scrimmage. So you're going to see playmakers at every skill spot as well as in the offensive trenches for this IMG squad.
After a gain of 4, it's Allen again. Right through the defense, using the power close to the 45-yard line, a gain of 12.
You could have driven a Volkswagen through this hole. This is just an outstanding job of, number one, Katron Allen just getting upfield, one cut north and south, and then creating space up front. The big space eaters. This is a really talented, gifted group in the offensive line and a program that has produced multiple Power 5 elite-level offensive tackles, including Alabama's Evan Neal.
4 Division I commits starting on that offensive line, including 54, the left tackle, Tyler Booker. Duffy to throw, completes. It's Sean Miller. And he's out of bounds. The drive continuing for IMG Academy. That offensive line, Luke's Booker headed to Alabama, and Bama's success with O-linemen's been tremendous. They've got 12 O-linemen in the NFL. 7 were first-round picks.
Yeah, this has been a wonderful feeder program for offensive linemen that have been as advertised. It's a difficult position to project at the high school level. And that man right there, number 54, Tyler Booker, is as close to being as college ready as you can imagine an offensive lineman leaving high school can be. So very exciting times for that young man.
Empty set, Duffy over the middle, hauled in by Carnell Tate, a top 80 recruit. He is still undecided, but he has narrowed his list to 10 schools.
Just 10, it's just 10 schools. I think that's one thing that's so interesting about all of these kids is we're not talking about, not getting recruited. We're not talking about marginal recruitment or, FCS level recruitment. We're talking about recruitment almost across the board at every single position by Power 5 and elite Power 5 programs.
A first down from the Bishop Sycamore 34-yard line, and that's Stacy Gage, only a sophomore. He already has 20-plus offers, including LSU and Ohio State. And we have our first flag.
We referenced that 2022 class and 2023 class. Gage is in the 2024 class.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 2, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Penalty on Adrian Brown, and to go back to Gage, Lugs, he has been dubbed, and I know we live in a world of hyperbole, but he has been dubbed as the LeBron of youth football. It's that sort of electrifying prowess, and only a sophomore.
And it kind of reminds me of Noel Devine, if you remember him.
Oh, yeah, West Virginia.
Some of the hype that surrounded him coming out of North Fort Myers High School. That type of back.
End zone hauled in by Tate with one hand. It was Duffy, it was Tate, it was Katron Allen, it was the offensive line. Like clockwork, star-studded IMG drives down the field.
Just a fantastic opening stanza for this offense. Essentially doing what they wanted at will, when they wanted to do it. Excellent execution. Good accuracy from A.J. Duffy. Nice holes being opened in the offensive line. As you can see, these running backs are special.
PAT is good by Jaden Fielding.
Throw it up to the big man. Give him a shot. Let him go up one-on-one. Opening series for IMG. They are on the board. Carnell Tate, A.J. Duffy hooking up in Ohio.
Anish Ruff, Tom Luganbill, it appears that they have kicked off while we were in the commercial break. So Bishop Sycamore will have the ball. First time we get to see this offense. Trillian Harris is their quarterback. A 6'6" lefty transferred from California. According to our database, he has an offer from Nevada. According to the school, he has an offer from Louisiana Monroe and UTEP.
Yeah, it was originally going to wear number 0. They ended up having an injury. He takes over number 13 from Jalen Morris. So we've got number 13 at quarterback. Let's see how he can lead the way here on their opening set on offense.
And an inauspicious start, trying to hand it off and nowhere to go. This IMG Academy has a defensive line with 4 ESPN 300 prospects. And, oh, by the way, Will Norman, Malik Bryant, who play that edge position, yeah, they'll come in as well. So they've got ESPN 300 depth on the defensive line, which most high schools don't have.
Yeah, and in both classes, there's no doubt about it. And you got Cameron Lenhart, who's just a 2023 player at defensive end. Justin Benton, another 2023 player in the junior 300 at defensive end. So they're going to rotate 6 to 8 guys in this defensive front 4 that will all be high-profile elite Power 5 players.
Bishop Sycamore, 1 game under its belt, a 38-0 loss to a school from Akron. And a timeout early by Bishop Sycamore.
Timeout, Bishop Sycamore. Their first of the half.
Their head coach is Roy Johnson. And as we mentioned, this is a relatively new school. They're not a part of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Not a ton of information out there on Bishop Sycamore. A mystery to us in many ways as much as it is to a lot of folks in Ohio. Keys to victory brought to you by the U.S. Marines. Luke, what do you have?
Yeah, excuse me there, sorry. IMG Academy, fine-tune the passing game. You know, we've seen that they can run the football. Let's get some opportunities through the air for quarterback A.J. Duffy, the Florida State verbal commitment. Force 3-and-outs on defense. I think from what we just saw in that first play, we talked about the defensive line for IMG having some advantages. And for Bishop Sycamore, you've got to limit explosive plays, whether it's on the ground or through the air. You can't afford for this game to turn into a track meet. And then, just as I said with IMG, force 3-and-outs. You can't allow that if you're Bishop Sycamore. You've got to keep this IMG offense on the sideline by sustaining drives with your own offense.
Bishop Sycamore playing a national schedule. They only play one more team from the state of Ohio. Again, not in the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Next game, they go to Kentucky and then Texas. And a flag down as Kyle Miller motioned.
Encroachment, defense number 11, 5-yard penalty, first down.
That is the Clemson commit, Jihad Campbell.
Yeah, coming off the edge from his linebacker position as a designated pass rusher. And, well, that's one way to move the offense, is to get some defensive penalties. If you're Bishop Sycamore, you'll take them as you can get them.
Campbell, a menace last week, a blocked PAT, a few TFLs. On 2nd and 9. Harris gets rid of it, completes near sideline, close to the marker, Kyle Miller.
Nice little pitch and catch there, taking what the defense gives you. I think what you're going to see is, as IMG Academy with this vaunted front 4 and front 7, they feel confident that they can just sit back, play zone defense, rush the passer with 4, all right, and force this Bishop Sycamore to take all the underneath stuff. And that time, Trillion Harris did a nice job taking what the defense gives him, gets it out to the flat, gets the ball out of his hand. He can help himself at quarterback today by not holding on to the football, because I think it's going to be a tall order for this Bishop Sycamore offensive line to hold up throughout the course of 4 quarters.
Harris a little trouble with the snap. That was an issue last week. And then into the embrace of Cameron Lenhart, who you were talking about a minute ago. Top 120 prospect in next year's class.
Yeah, and he can really run. He is an explosive edge guy. He can chase sideline to sideline. The thing about all of these front guys for IMG Academy is they are really twitchy. Even their interior defensive tackle players, their first step get off and quickness is going to pose a lot of problems for Bishop Sycamore up front.
4th and 1 from inside its own 30. Bishop Sycamore will go for it. We were told before the game that the offense would stay out on the field. Here they are. And IMG will take over. The ball comes out. It belongs to the Ascenders either way. So IMG scores on its first drive and then comes up with a fourth down stop.
The Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff, presented by the United States Marine Corps, is brought to you by Geico. Save even more when you bundle home and car insurance. And the Marines. The battle to belong begins here.
IMG taking a tour of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And for their head coach, Pepper Johnson, he's got a few friends in there. LT, Bill Parcells, Tyler Booker on the offensive line, the #1 offensive tackle in the country, Luke. What does he bring to the table?
Tenacity. You see the finishing mentality, the power and strength at the point of attack, and then the agility. He's got great feet. He can bend. He can move. He can adjust to second-level targets. And then from a pass protection standpoint, his feet are so good, and he's got such great balance that he can keep pace with lighter, maybe quicker, more explosive people off the edge. He's a great kid. Dealt with him for a couple of years now on the camp and combine circuit. He's one of those guys that did not shy away from competition. A lot of these guys that are heavily recruited, multiple Power 5 offers, you know, they don't want to go to camps and combines. There's a downside to it. Not this guy. This guy shows up everywhere and wants the best guy on defense lining up in front of him.
We're going to watch him a little on this drive, anchoring the left side of that IMG O-line. 54 in white. Katron Allen, the Penn State commit, Amtrakking through the defense all the way down to the 16-yard line.
You can see him blocking down, and then he works up to the linebacker, just gets a clip of him right there. But he's one of those players, you know, you look at offensive line and you say, okay, is he a knee bender or is he a waist bender? You want to be a knee bender. You don't want to be a waist bender. And one of the things he does really, really well is control his body weight, his body composition. And it's because his balance is really, really good.
Booker ranked 7th overall in the ESPN 300, the highest rated player in this game. Sean Miller makes the catch, his second reception. Second down, IMG.
One of the few, I guess you could say, seniors on this team in Sean Miller. We've mentioned all the high-profile ESPN 300 prospects in the 2022 class, but really it's the 2023 and 2024 class, too, that is littered throughout this roster. And so senior leadership from great players, absolutely, but the bulk of this roster is still pretty young, as we see A.J. Duffy, the Florida State verbal commitment, probably looking to get his second touchdown pass here in a no-back set.
Out of the empty look. Duffy, low throw, it's caught. And reaching across the goal line, it's Carnell Tate. His second touchdown. The first one he brought in with one hand. This one was all effort.
That is effort. That's effort. That's determination. That's want to. As we have
for an injured defensive player.
Injured player here along the defensive front for Bishop Sycamore. Let's see if we can get a number on that. Just simple pitch and catch here from A.J. Duffy. Get the ball out, get it to the target. A little bit low, good catch, good focus, but the finish right here. The finish by big number 17 and Carnell Tate, outstanding for the 6'3", 185-pound senior. Excuse me, junior.
Luke, you have him listed as an athlete. Where does he project to play at the next level as you look at Booker and pass pro?
Yeah, Booker, they're putting a little linebacker off the edge, trying to win with quickness. If you're Bishop Sycamore on defense, you're not going to win with power versus that guy. We probably would project him as a wide receiver. But the fact that you've played on both sides of the ball, you've got that type of scheme and positional versatility. Maybe an adjustment we'll make with our rankings. Again, he's just in the junior 300, so let's see how IMG ends up choosing to use him over the course of time.
Now the injured player for Bishop Sycamore is number 54. We do not have a 54 on the roster we were given. Now they've got all the technology on the IMG sideline, the iPad to go over things. They've got a big-time head coach in Pepper Johnson, 13 years in the NFL, a couple of Super Bowls, big part of the Giants. LT, Pepper Johnson, Carl Banks, pretty darn good linebacking core that Bill Parcells had. And Pepper's big time too. He didn't want to talk to us this week.
We certainly didn't. It's so important sometimes, you're doing these broadcasts, you're doing these games, and you want to represent these programs to the best of your ability. And that's why, you just mentioned we don't have a 54 for Bishop Sycamore, so we're scrambling here a little bit to make sure we get these rosters right and can identify the proper player. Take a look at Pepper Johnson, man. He doesn't even really look like he's aged.
Played with the Giants and Jets, and remember when Bill Belichick went to the Browns, Pepper Johnson followed Belichick, who was Parcells' D coordinator with the Giants, to Cleveland. So he is certainly familiar with Ohio. Got the nickname from his aunt, by the way. She noticed he liked to put black pepper on his cornflakes, so Thomas became Pepper. College football returned yesterday. We're in Canton, Ohio, the cradle of professional football. But we are set for week 1. We've got Virginia Tech, North Carolina on a Friday. We've got the Duke's Mayo Classic in Charlotte, North Carolina. Number 5, Georgia. Number 3, Clemson. Has the feelings of a playoff game in September, Luke's.
Yeah, playoff game 1.0 possibly as we take a look at Georgia's recruiting class for 2022. As you see, 15 verbal commitments there, over half of those in the ESPN 300. And I think the one thing that you've got to note when you look at Georgia and their recruiting efforts is the caliber of player that they're getting at key spots, in the offensive line, in the defensive front, at corner. But some of the focus in this class has been on offense, more playmakers. Obviously, they're going into that Clemson game without the services of George Pickens. They've lost Darnell Washington, the tight end. But they're going to have plenty of athletes. They don't have as much experience now, so they're going to go get some more of them from a recruiting perspective in this class.
So I'm going to get a little scouting report on you from Clemson. They've got a new running back, Will Shipley. He played in your backyard. There's a lot of excitement about him. In fact, your son now is playing for the same school where Shipley played. Tell us about Will Shipley.
Will Shipley I think, has the opportunity to be a special football player. He reminds me of a bigger version of Christian McCaffrey. Great ball skills, great hands, can return punts and kicks. He's one of those backs that can be a power back when you need him to, but he can also make you miss. He can extend plays. But as I look at Will Shipley, and I know he's going to rotate in there, probably working with the 2s, some with the 1s, returning punts and kicks, I think over the course of this freshman season, he will end up being their go-to feature back. And he's so far ahead in the passing game at this stage in his career entering college than Travis Etienne was at that stage when it comes to being a receiver. So he's a little bit ahead of the curve in that regard. Weddington High School in North Carolina.
Yeah, he's our Buick Impact freshman, and you're right, Etienne really didn't become a pass-catching threat until about his junior year. Trillian Harris to throw, and it's through the hands of Elijah Gorgian, 2nd and 10.
It's become very, very clear here early that Bishop Sycamore realizes that they're not going to be able to push IMG around up front and create any type of sustainable run game. So they've committed to the air now. If they're going to try and run the football, they're going to have to come up with some misdirection in the backfield. I don't think this can just be a vanilla zone right, zone left type of football team out of the 1-back. This group in white jerseys here is just too talented.
quick throw, broken up, incomplete. Keon Saab, a four-star Clemson commit, with the PBU.
Yeah, big physical safety type guy with some cover skills, and you see him break on the ball. Ball's thrown right behind, I think, either intended target number 11, Joshua Lorick, or number 14, Kyle Miller. Looked like there was some confusion there amongst the receiving corps for Bishop Sycamore. But yeah, Keon Saab, man, whew, he's one of those guys that's all over the football field.
Three Clemson commits on this IMG Academy defense. Saab, Jihad Campbell, and Dylan Everett. Harris in trouble and engulfed back at the 12-yard line. And there is Jihad Campbell, the number 11 outside linebacker in his class.
Well, he's the guy that they love to bring from distance, and you saw it right there. He was back almost at second at the linebacker level and started walking up late. And you get the offensive line to commit to the down guys. He picked the A-gap between the center and the guard there, and you see how explosive his closing burst is as a pass rusher. He is really dangerous. You got to know where 11 is at all times.
Bad snap, and Harris punts it away. Bishop Sycamore avoiding disaster. But IMG will start in plus territory. We are in Ohio, Canton, Ohio, so let's look at the top prospects in what is usually a pretty talent-rich state. How does it measure up this year?
I think it's really strong. To me, and I love the quarterback in Drew Alar, and he's the type of player that brings athleticism to the position. He's a big athlete. Penn State we talked about with our number 1 ranked class right now as it stands entering into the fall. You see the defensive players at the linebacker position, particularly C.J. Hicks and Gabe Powers, both committed to the Buckeyes. You know, traditionally it is a strong year, top to bottom, in the state of Ohio each and every year. So plenty of players to pick from, not just being Ohio State or Penn State, but the rest of the Big Ten as well.
Duffy will hand it off. There's Katron Allen running with force. Nothing subtle about his running style.
No, there's not. He is downhill, and he is 100 miles an hour. I think the one thing that's interesting about him is extremely decisive. He doesn't dance, yet he's just slightly patient enough to be able to gather his feet and avoid in the hole if he has to. You know, and I think that's a sense, that's a feel. Those are instincts, and what we've seen from him today, he's got a chance to be a special player.
Duffy to throw. There's Carnell Tate, 2 touchdowns already, and dives across the 25-yard line. Katron Allen going to Penn State, and there is a proud tradition of running backs over in State College. Most recently, Saquon Barkley, Kijana Carter, Blair Thomas, Larry Johnson, Curtis Enos. Yeah, Kurt Warner, not the quarterback. Kurt Warner, who played for the Seahawks.
Kurt with a C.
Kurt with a C. Allen off to the right side. Bulldozes through the defense. And a first down inside the 15-yard line. Now there's collateral damage when you make contact with number 13.
There is no doubt about it. Watch his forward lean. He's always leaning forward, inviting contact, but then the balance, you can't, if you're going to go low on him, you better wrap, because you're not just going to go low on him and try and hit him. He's going to steamroll right over you. And so we've seen a little bit of everything from Katron Allen just here in the first quarter. We've seen speed, explosiveness, vision, seen some patience, and now you're seeing the power. Now he is a locomotive.
He had 3 runs of 50-plus yards last week. Allen again, still fighting into the end zone from 12 yards out. Welcome to the Katron Allen Show.
Well blocked up front, obviously, another big hole, and again, that one cut downhill. The one cut downhill style is why he is so good, because he's never going to miss the hole. He's never going to miss the opportunity. And they're so talented up front that making it look easy right now. And in fairness, Anish, this isn't a proper representation of Ohio high school football. And I want to be very, very clear about that. I know that these kids are giving great effort. I know that their head football coach at Bishop Sycamore is trying to build something long-term here. They're in the infant stages of their program. They are a charter school. They're a post-grad school. They're drawing kids from all over the country to try and create opportunities. But this isn't a fair representation of how good high school football is in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, this is throwing a bantamweight with just a few fights under its belt into the ring against essentially your heavyweight champion.
That's exactly right. And I, the long-term strategy, and again, didn't get a lot of information out of Bishop Sycamore, but the information that we do have is they're trying to change lives for a lot of young people that may come from disadvantaged areas, may not have some of the luxuries to have an opportunity to play high school football, which could then give them an opportunity to potentially earn a scholarship and go to college. And that's what they're trying to do. They just don't have, let's just say, the resources of an IMG to make it happen overnight.
IMG, again, just loaded offensively and defensively. Katron Allen, who was the star of that last drive, headed to Penn State. Right now, Penn State, Lukes, has the #1 recruiting class in the country.
Yeah, I really like this class. We've talked about Drew Alar already. Caden Saunders is a blur as not only a receiver, but also as a return man. So another space player, more speed added to the skill positions for Penn State and James Franklin. And listen, they've hit the ground running, man. They came out of the dead period that we had been in for over a year due to the pandemic. Hit that month of June and July where you had the opportunity to finally get face-to-face with kids, have them on campus, have them attend your camp, and really, really have done a nice job.
Harris under pressure, has to get rid of it. Incomplete, intended for Winston Watkins. And Luke's, one of the things that a state school wants to do, you want to build a fence. 7 of the top 11 players from Pennsylvania committed to Penn State. All of the 7 are 4-star recruits. 5 of them are ESPN 300 prospects. So it's a good year for Pennsylvania and a good year to really solidify that fence.
Yeah, and you know what? States can be cyclical. You can go 2-3 years and maybe not be as strong top to bottom, and then you can have another year or two where
another lightning strike just a few minutes ago, so we have to wait a minimum of 30 minutes at least before we can resume playing. And Ishroff with Tom Luganbill, IMG Academy, leading Bishop Sycamore 21-0. Time now for the King of the Moment, brought to you by Burger King. Let's get caught up.
Yeah, it's been a 3-man show. Quarterback A.J. Duffy, and then the junior out of the ESPN 300, Carnell Tate, going up on the 50-50 ball here. And then just on the next series, catching a nice little underneath route and showing the fight, determination to get into the end zone. He scores once again, and then the third man getting it done has been Katron Allen on the ground. He has been an absolute load in the running game for IMG. The Penn State verbal commitment has got the chance to be special, Anish.
The game was delayed by weather in the first quarter, 21-0 IMG Academy. We'll have updates for you when we receive them. A weather delay still holds, though, in Canton. For now, we send you to the Herbie's preseason special.
The Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff, presented by the United States Marine Corps, is brought to you by Burger King. Buy one, get one for $1 more at BK.
College football season is here, but
after a weather delay of more than an hour, we are back and ready for football. IMG Academy with a 21-0 lead against Bishop Sycamore. Still first quarter, and Ishroff, Tom Luganbill, and let's get you caught up. This is how we got here.
Yeah, it's been all Carnell Tate in the passing game. You see the 50-50 jump ball there for the ESPN Junior 300 target. And then a nice little pitch and catch and some determination and toughness to get into the end zone for his second touchdown. And then Penn State running back Katron Allen doing the rest on the ground. He has been a load in the first quarter leading up to that lightning delay. And let's see if he gets back to where he left off when these two teams went in the locker room.
Pepper Johnson, the head coach for IMG. He has the most talented prep roster in America, 20 players in all, ranked in either the ESPN 300 or the ESPN Junior 300. We said it way back at the beginning of the broadcast. Tom Luganbill, you've been our national director of recruiting for what, 16 years?
That's it, 16, you bet.
And you've never seen a team with this much talent in a junior and senior class.
I really haven't, and we haven't even really dipped in yet to the 2024 class, aside from running back Stacy Gage, who we got a bit of a glimpse of there in the first quarter. You know, I've seen teams like that 2008 Miami Northwestern team. I've seen some of the South Lake Carroll teams, some of the St. Thomas Aquinas or Bishop Gorman teams. None of them match up talent-wise to this one.
Jeremy Naborn slipped, and it's 3rd down and 10 for Bishop Sycamore, an online-only charter school based in Columbus, Ohio. This game in Canton, Ohio. Their first season of football, 2019. They are not a part of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, so they play a national schedule. Trillian Harris, the lefty, a transfer from California, their quarterback. And we get a whistle and a flag.
False start. Offense for 15. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Niche, if you hope to move the football against this football team, you can't have self-inflicted wounds if you're Bishop Sycamore on offense. You need every good break you can get, and you need to move this football forward. And we've seen in the first quarter to this point, no semblance in a running game. So it looks like Sycamore is committed to the air, a little bit one-dimensional. Let's see if those 4 defensive front guys for IMG can continue to put on the pressure.
It's a loaded defense. Trillian Harris trying to get away and subdued at the 15. It looked like the ball came out. Bishop Sycamore able to recover.
And that's
Corey
number 15.
Jackson getting in there.
Yeah, again, another 2024 prospect. Just a sophomore on this IMG roster, and you saw the pursuit, you saw the speed, the power. And these are kids that you know aren't even upperclassmen yet within this high school program. That's how talented and deep they are. They just roll guys through. So when those players become juniors and seniors, they've got a wealth of experience.
4th and 15. Let's see if this is a punt or they go for it. We were told that Trillian Harris will do the punting. He's the quarterback as well. And the kick is blocked out of the end zone. That's a safety.
If you're going to do the quick kick and you cannot pass protect, then you better back up more than 7 yards, as the quarterback here ends up kicking it right into the back of his running back. And then Malik Bryant, the linebacker, number 5, there to make contact with the ball as well. So no semblance of a pass of a kicking game to this point in the first quarter for Bishop Sycamore. To further the point of the caliber of player that IMG Academy is playing with, this is just a portion of the list out of the 2022 class in the ESPN 300. You see some of the programs affiliated with Dalen Everett, A.J. Duffy, Tyler Booker, an Alabama verbal commitment, 4 other players ranked in the ESPN 300, plus other 4-star and 3-star players in this class that aren't in the ESPN 300. And this is the junior class. We referenced the sophomore class of 2024. This is the 2023 class. You see those player ranks and the caliber of player they're playing with underclassmen. And again, another 5 players not on that sheet to give you an idea of the top to bottom strength of this program. And we said this before the lightning and rain delay. I think in fairness to the state of Ohio and Ohio high school football, this isn't a fair representation.
No.
Or an accurate representation of the high school football that is being played in that state. It's a strong, state full of pride and quality football being played. Anish, as you referenced, they're not a part of the Ohio State Association as it relates to high school football. They are a charter online school only. And high school football in the state of Ohio has always been distinctly strong.
After the safety, IMG will take it out close to the 45-yard line. Winston Watkins on the return. A.J. Duffy, the quarterback for IMG, a top 40 prospect overall, the number 2 pocket passer, committed to Florida State. And Lugs, for Florida State, quarterback has been a position where they have not had consistency post Jameis Winston.
Well, they haven't, and they've recruited well under Mike Norvell over the last 2 classes, not only just at the high school level, but of course with the transfer portal and the addition of Mackenzie Milton. So to go out from a high school perspective and get another long-term answer, and what you hope will be an answer in A.J. Duffy's a smart move, just enhances the competition.
Stumbling across midfield, Katron Allen, the Penn State commit, one of 2 top 15 running backs, headed to State College along with Nicholas Singleton.
Yeah, and already a crowded, very talented backfield in Happy Valley at the running back spot. So loading up with playmakers in the backfield for the Nittany Lions.
7 carries, 69 yards for Allen. Duffy will throw. Looked like he wanted Allen, who couldn't get off the block. 3rd down.
It looked like they were almost trying to set up some form of a screen right there, and see A.J. Duffy saying, hey, that was my bad right there. Really the only negative play, if you call it an incompletion, a negative, that we've seen on offense. They've essentially, on the ground, through the air, IMG has done everything they've set out to do today so far versus an outmanned Bishop Sycamore defense.
We are told that there will be no halftime, and after the second quarter, we will have a running clock for the second half. Four Division I prospects on that IMG offensive line. Duffy downfield, and he overshot his receiver, Devin Hyatt, another ESPN Junior 300.
Yeah, and A.J. Duffy didn't look like he had great ball control there. The ball didn't come out of his hand clean. I don't know if it's a little bit slick. He's just not getting a great grip on the football, but a little bit uncharacteristic of what we saw in the first quarter after starting out 5 of 5 with 2 touchdown passes to get this offense rolling for IMG. And our first punt offensively, which is some good news here for Bishop Sycamore.
Pretty good punt. It pins Bishop Sycamore deep. College football is back. It returned yesterday. Bad start for Nebraska. UCLA a winner against Hawaii. Notre Dame back to being an independent after a one-year cameo in the ACC. They will open against Florida State. That is next Sunday, a week from today. You talked about Mike Norvell, second season at Florida State. Culture cleanup obviously has to be part of it, but there's some excitement. Mackenzie Milton will try to become one of the best redemption stories in college football.
Yeah, and I think they may play 2 quarterbacks. And not only is Mike Norvell finally getting an opportunity to get his own team after taking over that job just prior to the pandemic, he's really been able to hit the ground running and recruiting. They got hot this summer during the months of June and July. So they seem to be reestablishing their place in the world order of college football under Mike Norvell. Now let's see if they can get results on the field.
Harris under duress, able to complete to Joshua Lorick, former Mater Dei wide receiver, a plus route runner according to his coaches. Harris, the quarterback, according to our database, has an offer from Nevada. According to the school, offers from Louisiana Monroe and UTEP. Screen to Lorick.
Pass complete to Lorick.
Wrapped up across the 25.
We've got a penalty flag here on this tail end of this play right here. But Anish, I'll tell you, this plan right now for Bishop Sycamore is really the only plan that they can establish. They get their players in space and hopefully make somebody miss. Force IMG to come up and have to tackle in space. Leverage the football. Don't give up, as we talked about.
After
to some
play
of the
was
keys
over,
of the game.
dead ball, personal foul, late hit, defense number 95. Penalty, first.
And we talked about with some of our keys for Bishop Sycamore, you've got to sustain drives. You got to keep that IMG offense on the sideline and then get some help. We've had some penalties so far on IMG. We've got another silly penalty right there for IMG Academy, adding another 15 yards to tack on to the end of that run after the catch. So at least some positive momentum here for Bishop Sycamore.
Best field position Bishop Sycamore has had. They keep it on the ground on first down. Elijah Ugorji.
Number 56 for the offense, his helmet came off and must leave the game for one play. Second down.
That is Marquez Thomas. The challenge already was steep for this offensive line.
Yes. Yeah, no doubt about it. It seems to me, Anish, too, that Bishop Sycamore's come out with a little bit more focus than IMG.
Bishop Sycamore, their second of the half.
Sloppy
30-second timeout
on that opening drive. And now, defensively, they don't seem to be dominating the line of scrimmage they were in the first quarter.
We get a timeout from Bishop Sycamore. Luke, you wonder, does psychology play into that, right? You're up 21-0. You kind of feel, all right, we know we're the better team. We have all the ESPN 300 and ESPN Junior 300 players. They're overmatched. Then you have a delay, right? Does it take away some of that juice?
It looks like it has to this point. And listen, if you start to get comfortable, you start to think it's going to be easy, you're asking for trouble. And even when you have the personnel advantage, it doesn't mean that you get to go out just because you're ahead and not play disciplined quality football. They're too talented to not execute at a high level, particularly when they've got the opposition outmanned.
Pistol look on 2nd and 9. Harris going back to Lorick on that receiver screen, and he's blown up.
It's really the only answer right now, Anish, that this offense has, and that's to protect your quarterback in Trillion Harris, get the ball out of his hands, help them in the offensive line by not asking them to work through progressions and sit in the pocket. Unfortunately, you have no semblance of a run game, so this IMG defensive front, which is fiercely talented, 2 to 3 deep across the board, is just pinning their ears back and coming after the quarterback because they know to this point they don't have to defend the run.
2 to 3 deep with 4-star prospects.
Yes, no doubt.
Quarter number 1 will come to an end. IMG Academy, as advertised, it was a long first quarter.
That's the end of the first quarter.
A weather delay of more than an hour. Carnell Tate a couple of touchdown catches from A.J. Duffy. Catron Allen found the end zone. 23-zip. Inside the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the 2021 class, including Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson, John Lynch, Alan Faneca, the great offensive lineman from Pittsburgh, Charles Woodson, Drew Pearson. Long time coming for Pearson. This one is tipped and intercepted by IMG. Trayvon Howard. And he'll bring it to the 45-yard line.
Yeah, Trillion Harris, the quarterback here for Bishop Sycamore. You can't let a ball sail on you high over the middle. You're just asking for trouble. Not only is it dangerous for the target, and obviously missed the underneath player in number 34 right there for the defense. That's Jordan Hall, the middle linebacker. The ball goes right through his hands. And then Joshua Lorick, who's been the go-to target for Bishop Sycamore on that drive, just can't come down with the football.
Hall is a top 10 inside linebacker in the junior class. So IMG back to work. Let's see if they take a shot after the turnover. Katron Allen drags a tackler close to midfield.
Trayvon Howard with that interception, a Northwestern verbal commitment, which we've all seen what Pat Fitzgerald's been able to do with that program, the caliber of player they're starting to lure to Evanston. Nice pickup in the back end.
Allen again. And into Bishop Sycamore territory.
You see Bishop Sycamore here defensively trying to create a bunch of different looks with their alignment in their defensive front. You're seeing multiple players stand up at the line of scrimmage, linebackers walking up into gaps and then backing off. The problem is when the ball's snapped, they're not gap sound. Bishop Sycamore's got 2 players in 1 gap. Now you're leaving voided gaps for backs like Katron Allen to run through, and you're going to be off to the second level before you know it.
Allen again into the second level, still going. And finally out of bounds, a red zone chance for IMG.
That time you don't have the edge set, and really quickly Katron Allen sees this, bounces it to the perimeter, untouched, and now it's just a foot race with the stiff arm and another nice run. His chunk of yardage and the types of runs that he's had, he's shown so much. He's been flashy, he's been explosive, but he's also been very, very powerful and difficult to bring down.
Averaging better than 10 yards a carry. Still only in the second quarter with 10 minutes plus to go. Allen again, right up the middle. Through the teeth of that defense. A gain of 9 more.
Gain of 9, second down.
Allen again to the edge, and a great tackle in space by Charlie Pollard.
Charlie Pollard's only 5'9", about 160 pounds, but he goes low. And as we talked about earlier, when you're going to try and tackle Katron, if you're going to go low, you better wrap up. You're not going to knock him off of his feet. Just a really good tackle there from the safety position by Charlie Pollard.
And nothing wrong with being 5'9", 160 pounds. Third and 1, you go right back to Katron.
Dance with who brung you.
Allen, hammerheads inside the 5, down to the 1-yard line. First and goal, IMG. It's funny, we saw Jordan James, the Georgia commit, yesterday, and there was a finesse, an elegance, a nonchalance even to his game, and just a very fluid, as you said, gliding running style.
Yeah.
Katron Allen's got none of that, and I mean this with the utmost respect. There is a punishing style to his running.
Yeah, he runs angry.
He runs into the end zone, too. That's twice now. It's 29-0, and if this extra point is good and the margin gets to 30, it will initiate a running clock. Normally, according to Ohio rules, if the margin gets to 30, you have a running clock just for the second half due to the weather today and the delay. They have amended that rule. We get a whistle.
Encroachment, defense number 2, half the distance to the goal, replay the try. IMG has declined the penalty, replay the try.
right, so some sportsmanship there by IMG declining the penalty. And fielding on for the PAT, and it looks like somebody jumped again.
I think this time it might be on IMG's kicker.
Encroachment, defense number 2, penalties decline, replay the try.
Adrian Brown.
By the time we get this try off, Kanye's new album will have launched. The kick is good. We will have a running clock from here on out. Katron Allen finding the end zone for the second time today. All IMG. $30-0 IMG on top of Bishop Sycamore, and apparently during the weather delay, Kanye's new album did drop. Katron Allen, he's been dropping everything in sight, and I mean that in a good way. 2 touchdowns running through, around, and past this Bishop Sycamore defense.
Yeah, 124 yards on 13 rushes just so far, 30-0 for IMG, and really offensively, this is pick your poison. You know, if you're Bishop Sycamore, you know, IMG hasn't had to throw the football much, and when you can't stop the run and you've got a running back like this that can carry the load and doesn't get worn down, doesn't get tired, is in great shape. You mentioned it, Anish. It's just such an aggressive running style, different than what we saw yesterday from Jordan James at Oakland High School, who's verbally committed to Georgia. Just totally different styles and approaches to their running styles, respectively.
Who does he remind you of?
This guy right here reminds me a little bit of Ezekiel Elliott.
Wow. All right, so we're told that Bishop Sycamore, which is the Ohio team, has nixed the running clock. So we were told that we were going to have a running clock when this margin hit 30, and it has been nixed by Bishop Sycamore head coach Roy Johnson. So we will have it in the second half, but apparently not here in the first half.
Delay game. Offense number 13. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's not what you want after a kickoff, a delay of game.
No, it isn't. And the field possession for this offense has been horrendous all day long, so they're constantly playing out of a huge hole and just can't seem to get any rhythm, just overwhelmed up front.
From the 15, Harris will throw, backpedaling, and Jihad Campbell, the Clemson commit, gets the sack. He's been all over today.
I'll tell you, what makes him so unique is the variety of roles that you can play him in. He's a natural pass rusher. He's a quick twitch player. He comes from distance, so you might be late in your pass protection to set or make an adjustment. He's so big and fast and explosive that he's on your quarterback's heels immediately.
You think of the pass rushers we have seen at Clemson over the years. You go back to Vic Beasley, Shaq Lawson, Austin Bryant, Cleveland Farrell. Laundry day.
False start. Offense number 11. Half the distance to the goal. Second down.
Bishop Sycamore now in danger of a second safety. Campbell, number 11, lined up on the D-line at the right. Coming off the edge, Harris just chucks it downfield. Incomplete, nobody open, 3rd and long.
And you saw number 11, as you mentioned, Jihad Campbell, the Clemson verbal commitment coming off the edge, unblocked. I don't know if in pass protection, if he's the guy you're going to choose to not block. I wouldn't recommend that. Coming right down into the kitchen of the quarterback, he's got no choice but to get the ball out of his hand.
Do you see him as a D-end or a linebacker at the next level?
I think he's going to be a linebacker. I really do, but I can see him as a designated pass rusher, you know, given the circumstances and the down and distance and what type of packages Brent Venables wants to run. And I think a lot of the answer to that question, too, depends on just how big he gets. See him standing up here at the bottom of your screen. This is an edge mismatch.
Harris did get the ball out of the end zone, so no safety. It's 4th down. Remember, when you're in the end zone, the entire ball has to come out, and Harris was able to do that. 4th and 29.
Timeout, Bishop Sycamore. Their 3rd and final timeout of the half.
Another timeout by
This will be
Roy
a 30-second
Johnson.
timeout.
We'll step aside as well. Danger zone for the Centurions.
TV timeout.
Charlie Pollard will come into punt, and Trillian Harris, the quarterback for Bishop Sycamore, limping on the sideline. This has not been a fair fight so far. This Bishop Sycamore team, as Harris takes a seat on the turf, he'll get stretched out. Pollard punts it away. Chance for a big return here. Sean Miller slips down just shy of the 10-yard line. The point to finish here is, you look at IMG, this is the most talented prep team in the country. Bishop Sycamore told us that
During the return, holding, number 5 of the return team. 10-yard penalty from the end of the run, 1st down.
Bishop Sycamore told us they had a number of Division I prospects on their roster. To be frank, a lot of that we could not verify. And they did not show up in our database. They did not show up in the databases of other recruiting services. So it's okay. If that's what you're telling us, fine. That's how we take it in. From what we've seen so far, this is not a fair fight. And there's got to be a point now, Lugs, where you do worry about health and safety.
I already am worried about it. I think it's this could potentially be dangerous given the circumstances and the mismatch that we have here. And quite honestly, Bishop Sycamore doesn't have not only the frontline players, but they don't have the depth in case something were to happen to their roster with maybe a kid or two here throughout the remaining 2.5 quarters of this football game. I'm just really surprised that Bishop Sycamore's head coach has decided against a running clock to this point when it's very, very clear that they can't match up.
No, they can't match up, and you already saw Trillian Harris, their quarterback, get dinged up. The last thing you want is, to have this showcase on national TV as IMG gets close again with Stacy Gage. The last thing you want is to have this be your national showcase. Nobody really knows who Bishop Sycamore is. Online charter school. They've only been playing football since 2019. You don't want this to be representative of the image your program projects going forward.
No, you don't. And also from the player's perspective, one of the things that this great game teaches all of us is how do you deal with things when they're not going your way? Well, all right, generally when that happens, you have some type of competitive element between the two teams, and you've got to fight through it, you've got to deal with it. There's no answer here for Bishop Sycamore. So what are we telling the kids?
IMG Academy, their 1st of the half. 30-second timeout.
A timeout by IMG. Yeah, Luke, listen, we were a little surprised when it was 21-0 and there was an hour weather delay that they even came back and resumed.
Mm-hmm. And I think, to be honest with you, from the IMG perspective, if you're Pepper Johnson, you've got a long year, you've got a difficult slate. It's not easy to find teams that are willing to play you. So you know what you should probably be doing right now is getting your top line guys off the field. You know, preserve them. They've done what they have to do. Let's get some reserves on the field. Let's get those kids experience with as many Power 5 Division I prospects that we have outlined today for this IMG program. Maybe some of your less experienced players that may become prospects at some point need to start getting a lot of turns.
On the fly sweep, it's Sean Miller. Stiff arm, end zone, touchdown.
Sean Miller, that's an exciting young man, and he's got to be awfully excited too from what he saw yesterday. He's verbally committed to Illinois, the big win there in Champaign, and Brett Bielema's opening game to beat Nebraska. And Sean Miller's had a couple of catches. You get the touchdown right there, one-on-one, makes a guy miss, uses the stiff arm, and looks like Illinois is getting a nice-looking athlete coming to Champaign.
Meanwhile, it was Jeremy Naborn down for Bishop Sycamore after the play. He plays offense and defense. Now he's back up. One of their better players. Best athlete, according to the coaches. Fielding's point after is good. All IMG, 37-0. Sean Miller's turn.
The Geico ESPN High School Football Kickoff, presented by the United States Marine Corps, is brought to you by Geico. Save even more when you bundle home and car insurance. And the Marines. The battle to belong begins here.
All right, we're back. 37-0 IMG Academy and Ishraf, Tom Luganbill. This one we thought would be lopsided. It's become lopsided much faster than we anticipated. 5:14 to go in the second quarter. Bishop Sycamore declined a running clock for the duration of this first half when the margin hit 30. We will have a running clock in the second quarter. And Lugs, a point that you've reiterated, I think it's worth hammering home.
Yes.
Ohio high school football, this is not a representation or a microcosm in any way, shape, or form of Ohio high school football.
No, it is not. It's a very unfair representation. I would hope for anybody who is not familiar with the strong, deep-rooted football programs at the high school level in the state of Ohio going back decades. Certainly don't want them to get the wrong impression, because that's not representative of what we've seen on the field here today.
Trillian Harris running and tripped up from behind Paul Hudson.
Second down.
High snap, Harris to throw, it's batted down. Incomplete, 3rd and 9, and you know, we can't say it enough. You feel for the kids from Bishop Sycamore right now. They're playing an all-star team.
Well, the other thing I would add to that, Anish, is this is a fun game. It's supposed to be a fun game. You're supposed to enjoy it, have energy, have enthusiasm. And for Bishop Sycamore, this isn't fun.
No.
It's almost impossible for them to generate any type of momentum if they can't have anything good happen for them. And all that then does is start to snowball and head downhill in a hurry. And how much better is IMG getting, all right, as a football team as a result?
Harris heaves it downfield, incomplete. Yeah, it works both ways. Isaiah Buka was the intended target, and you feel for Trillian Harris, 6'6" lefty. He's hung in there, but boy, is he taking some hits today.
Well, he's taken some hits, and I think for the most part, he's done a pretty good job of trying to protect himself. Even if it's not accurate, even if there's nowhere to go with the ball, he would be doing himself a disservice as well as his offensive line if he just was holding on to the ball. He hasn't done that. Give that young man a lot of credit to get the ball out of his hand.
Fourth and 9. Harris, the quarterback, has been doubling as the punter. Miller chases it back to his own 20, cuts it upfield. He's got the 40, accelerates across midfield. And out of bounds, deep into Bishop Sycamore territory. One of the big stories around high school and college football, Quinn Ewers. He was the #2 overall recruit in the class of 2022. Reclassified, skipped his entire senior year, Luke. We see guys sometimes enroll a semester early and then go back to their prom, but he skipped his entire senior year to enroll early at Ohio State.
Yeah, you know, credit to him for academically being on pace and on schedule to be able to do that. But really, ultimately, at the end of the day, this had a direct tie to name, image, and likeness. And the fact that at the high school level in the state of Texas, that is not allowed for the high school athlete. And I think he felt like there was an opportunity to benefit from name, image, and likeness, even though, you know, it was never very likely he was going to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State as a true freshman. So an exceptionally gifted player, comes from a program in South Lake Carroll that has high expectations, performs at a high level. That won't be a steep learning curve for him. Now he has to get caught up. He didn't have the benefit of a winter conditioning program and spring football and the summer program. He
Officials
arrived late
timeout for an injured offensive player.
And he's got, you know, 2 to 3 weeks to try and get himself ingrained in their 2 or 3 deep or wherever he may end up. But I think the one thing we've got to note in all of this, because it can be a slippery slope, is he is the exception. He's not the norm. All right, for most, if not all prospects, you need your senior year. You need to play with your football team. And you can't allow NIL at this stage. And I think if you've got a good support group and you've got people around you that you can bounce things off of and are giving you good guidance, we're not going to just all of a sudden see a rash of this happening. Quinn Ewers is a statistical anomaly.
Weston Adams, the injured IMG player after the Katron Allen run. What do you think ultimately will be the impact of NIL on high school athletes?
Well, you know, the interesting thing now is it's going to become part of the recruiting pitch. You know, the programs that got ahead of this, that were on top of this and were prepared for what was coming, have now put together in-house name, image, and likeness departments. No different than their SID, no different than, let's just say, their athletic training department. And so they're trying to do their best as institutions to have this be a part of the recruiting pitch. You come here, these are the opportunities afforded to you because of who we are, our brand, our program, and that's going to be involved in recruiting now, you know. And it's going to be the one thing that we've done here with all of this is we've thrown it out there with very little guidelines, very little blueprint, if any. It's the wild, wild west. So with that will come unintended consequences, unforeseen consequences, and then we'll have to deal with it along the way.
of the Pandora's box of prep athletics, amateur athletics these days. Duffy taken down in the backfield, one of the rare defensive plays for Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah, Will Williams, number 18, coming off the edge, a 6'4", 230-pound defensive end, doing a nice job. You got to try and keep your feet on the ground. It's tough to play football when you're in the air, but certainly got A.J. Duffy off platform. You know, going back to the name, image, and likeness thing too, Anish, is, you know, the things that we forget about that we gloss over. Contracts, morality clauses, representation, taxes, all of these things haven't been dealt with, all right? And that's something that's very, very important to the overall success of the student athlete that is going to benefit from name, image, and likeness, that they're prepared to deal with it.
I think back to, listen, we were all young and prone to questionable judgment at some point in our lives, right? And you think about that too. You're representing a brand at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, and that brand is worth a lot more than you in most cases. That brand could be worth millions, billions of dollars. What happens if something were to happen where you misrepresent that brand because of something that you do that, listen, maybe all college kids do or all young kids do, and it's a mistake that you made? You know, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
It's like being Spider-Man. Great power comes great responsibility.
Uncle Ben with the wisdom. Another sack as Duffy goes down.
And Kai Williams, a safety. Finally, Bishop Sycamore having something good happen to him, having some positive effects on the defensive side of the football. See some smiles on that sideline finally.
1st and 10 now for the Centurions of Bishop Sycamore, playing the Ascenders of IMG Academy. I know you're a fan of that Bishop Sycamore logo, though.
Oh yeah, the Centurion to me it looks a bit gladiator-esque though.
It does.
I like it. I feel like straight out of 300.
Maximus in the Coliseum.
That's it.
We get a new quarterback here. It's Booker. And his first pass is batted down. Isaiah Booker, 5'10", 175 pounds.
He's listed as a receiver or a defensive back.
Right, not even listed as a quarterback. In fact, only 2 quarterbacks were listed on the roster, Trillian Harris and Jalen Knight, number 4. But we are seeing Isaiah Booker here. He is under pressure and gobbled up back at the 20-yard line. Ronald Jackson got there.
And now you're starting to see, you mentioned Ronald Jackson getting in on the action. You're starting to see some reserves, some guys that aren't in the ESPN 300 making plays for IMG. And again, it's important for Pepper Johnson, the head coach, to get as many players rotated through there as they possibly can. Again, IMG is a tough team. It's also difficult to find teams that want to play them. So the longer the season goes, the more guys and more bodies you're going to need.
Pepper Johnson, 2-time Super Bowl winner, 2-time Pro Bowler. 3rd and 20. You know, we talked about this a little while ago. The inherent danger right now, that just looked like a young man not prepared to face this kind of a defense.
He's not prepared to play quarterback. He's not even listed as a quarterback on their roster, so I'm not quite sure what the thinking is offensively from the Bishop Sycamore staff here, because there's no progression. There was no rhyme or reason for anything that the quarterback did on that entire drive because he wasn't capable of playing the position.
Pollard into punt. Saab, the deep man for IMG. He's a Clemson commit. Punt goes straight up in the air and lands out of bounds. IMG will have it in Bishop Sycamore territory. A 14-yard punt. No halftime, so stay with us for the second half of this, I guess. Georgia-Clemson, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. That's going to be a good one. I promise you that will be closer, all jokes aside. Georgia-Clemson feels like a college football playoff preview. We got DJ Uyunglele taking the reins at quarterback. And so many of these blue bloods replacing their quarterbacks. Clemson has the advantage where we saw Uyunglele last year, Luke's, in big games. And even though they lost one of those to Notre Dame, he played well.
He did play well, and there's going to be some fresh faces on that offense. We'll get back to Clemson's class in just a moment, but going to be interested to see a retooled offensive line. How do you replace the production of Travis Etienne and Amari Rogers? Get some young wideouts, including Justin Ross, back. So I'm intrigued by Clemson offensively.
Katron Allen takes it all the way down to the 11-yard line, a gain of 29. And let's see if IMG tries to punch it in or if they'll just take a 37-0 lead to halftime.
IMG Academy, their second of the half. 30-second
Pepper
timeout.
Johnson calls a timeout. Back to Clemson Lugs. Look at their recruiting rank, number 12. Only 12 commits, a small class.
Yeah, but again, everybody's going to have to start dealing with the extra year of eligibility. How do you get back down to 85? You're juggling numbers. You don't know what your numbers are going to be. They're constantly evolving. But more than anything else, with that number 12 you see there for total commitment, I think that has a lot to do with Clemson now earning the right to be in a position to be super selective. Because it's when you get to the level they've gotten, everybody wants to play for you, right? It would be easy to take everybody that wants to commit to you. But they've got to ensure that they're peeling back the layers, asking the right questions, making sure that they're not only getting the best player, but the right guy for their culture, their locker room, and their environment. So you may see them slow play a little bit. And we've seen Alabama go through this as well, and for the exact same reasons.
And Dalen Everett, one of their top commits, plays cornerback for IMG. IMG still has one timeout, 23 seconds to go in this opening half. No halftime again. Katron Allen down inside the 5-yard line.
Just to point out for you, Anish, this quarterback now that's in for IMG, Ryan Downs, he's a 2025 prospect. 2025, so he's just a freshman. They are really excited about him. Jeff Blake, the quarterback coach, long-time 14-year NFL veteran, was visiting with him this summer in some camps that we were working together and had an opportunity to see this young man come out and throw with A.J. Duffy. And I'll tell you what, he is an exciting prospect for the future of this program. He has a wealth of talent for a kid that's really just 14, scratching the surface of 15 years old.
That doesn't look like a 14, 15-year-old.
No, he doesn't.
So Downs in there. Ball's on the ground. 1 second to go. Who's got it? IMG's got it. They call a timeout. So out of timeouts. Nope, they didn't call a timeout.
Timeout, IMG Academy, their third and final timeout of the half.
Okay, they did
Please
call a timeout.
reset the game clock to 1 second.
So 1 second left in the second quarter.
What is IMG doing here?
1 hour weather delay. I don't know.
What are we trying to gain here?
I don't know. First-year head coach Pepper Johnson. Are you trying to run it up?
I mean, and listen, the one thing I do understand from a coaching perspective is you want to get your younger players in some situational football. You're in the red area. You want to teach preservation of the ball and being tight on assignments, because once you get that close, you've got to come away with points. I get all of that, but I don't know if that's appropriate in this contest.
I don't think there's any doubt. This game, listen, it is what it is at this point, and yeah, you feel for our viewers too, who came to see some of the best prospects in all of Division I, and there's a good chance that in that second half, IMG will probably play a lot of their backups.
Correct, and we see A.J. Duffy now coming back in. I think that's a reflection of the mishandled snap by Ryan Downs, the freshman quarterback that looked like he was going to take the reins from here on out, but they want to secure that they get the football and have their veteran player in the red area. There still seems to be some confusion, though, as to what they want to do offensively.
So Duffy, the Florida State commit, back in at quarterback, rolling to his left. And he just goes out of bounds, nothing there. Quarter number 2 comes to an end. There is no halftime because we had a 1-hour weather delay. So we'll come back after this. The third quarter will begin, and we will have a running clock. Welcome back to the 2021 Geico ESPN High School Kickoff, presented by the United States Marine Corps. Anish Raff, Tom Luganville with you. Final game of kickoff weekend. Outcome not really in question. 37-0 IMG as we begin the third quarter. No halftime because we had a 1-hour weather delay. We have seen a loaded IMG roster. 20 players altogether in the ESPN 300 or the ESPN Junior 300. And the Stars have shown Carnell Tate a couple of touchdowns. Katron Allen, the Penn State commit, as advertised. A.J. Duffy, their quarterback, has made some great throws.
Well, it's been fun in the first quarter to watch these players perform. And as you mentioned, Denise, they've been as advertised. The Penn State River commitment, Katron Allen there. He's kind of shown a little bit of everything in terms of the type of back and style he possesses. Gotten a little bit out of the passing game from A.J. Duffy. You mentioned Carnell Tate out of the ESPN Junior 300 with 2 touchdown passes. But it's really been the ability to run the football at will, whenever they want to, however they want to, behind that man right there, number 13.
And credit to the offensive line. Tyler Booker, Najee Harris, Dylan Lopez, Aluba, Francis Mauigoa, 4 of those players, 3-star or better prospects, including 3 ESPN 300 or Junior 300 prospects. We will have a running clock once we get underway here in the third quarter. IMG to kick off to Bishop Sycamore. The #1 recruiting class in the country belongs to James Franklin and Penn State. That includes Katron Allen, the IMG running back. They also have the #7 running back in the class, Nicholas Singleton. Got Caden Saunders from Ohio, right, Luke's?
Yeah, really like him. I think he can run. This is an explosive class, top to bottom, for Penn State. One of their stronger classes, obviously ranked #1 right now as far as class ranks are concerned. Really what I think is going to start to happen over the next really 3 months. Now that the evaluation period will begin, coaches will be able to get back out on the road. Players will now be able to start taking official visits this fall. You're going to see a rash of, I think, verbal commitments coming in droves over the next 3 to 4 months leading into the first signing period, and that's when you'll really start to see some jockeying for that #1 spot. Alabama's occupied it, Clemson's occupied it, Ohio State's occupied it. Now you're seeing Penn State right now at the top. We'll see if they can hang on.
Booker's pass is batted down by Jihad Campbell, who's played well defensively. To go back to that point, Lugs, what have coaches told you about the impact of not having on-campus visits and essentially recruiting virtually for a year?
Well, I think that it's really impacted this 2022 and 2023 class more so than the 2021 class that just signed, because prior to the pandemic, most of those guys had been on campus. They'd been to camps. Coaches had been face-to-face with them. But listen, when you're
Bishop Sycamore, their first of the half.
When you are trying to recruit a player that you can't interact with face-to-face, that you can't shake the hand of, that you can't bring on your campus, that you cannot attend your camp and coach that player and find out, how do they respond to criticism? How do they respond to being coached hard? How do they interact with their peers? What's their body language like? You're running a huge risk of missing. And then from the player perspective, it's the same thing. Recruiting's about relationships. How often do we hear prospects signing because of an individual coach or a coordinator or a head coach, and that was really the sole purpose of why they went to that school? Well, it's tough to generate that strictly on a Zoom call or strictly on FaceTime. So I think there's been challenges on both sides, and the hope is that once you get the young man on campus, that there's not buyer's remorse on both sides, where you say, wow, something materialized here that we didn't know, we didn't see coming. Well, that could easily happen when you don't have the opportunity to make the normal inquiries that you would usually make.
So in the age of the transfer portal, does that mean the portal will have...
Could expand.
Yeah, many more names
Sure.
this year than usual.
Maybe so.
On 2nd and 10. And that's Isaiah Booker again, listed as a wide receiver, defensive back, playing quarterback, throwing incomplete 3rd and 10. And it just seems like Bishop Sycamore right now searching for options, any options.
Yeah, and they still have yet to block number 11, Jihad Campbell, the Clemson verbal commitment off the edge. Outside of Katron Allen, that we've seen on offense perform very, very well today, this has been the best player on the field defensively today in this contest as far as production as a pass rusher that IMG has showcased. And so he's an exciting guy. He's fast, he's explosive, and you see how wide he is off the ball right there. Let's see if they end up bringing him late. They are.
Booker able to escape using his feet. He's got a 1st down and more, and then finally thrown to the ground. That was actually Pollard.
Charlie Pollard, yeah.
Yeah, Charlie Pollard, and it's Terrell Foster making the stop. Back to Pollard, dancing around in the pocket. Somehow got away from Campbell, the first one to do so. And it looked like his knee hit the ground. A lot of white jerseys in the area, including Paul Hudson. Luke, you mentioned Clemson.
Right,
3 defensive commits for Clemson on this IMG squad. Dylan Everett, Keon
Officials
Saab,
timeout
Jihad Campbell.
for an injured defensive player.
As we have an injury timeout. Brent Venables has put together something special over in Death Valley. And, the positionless player, I think of Isaiah Simmons now. That has become, the template in a lot of ways, the way Clemson can maneuver these different pieces.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And you mentioned, some of these other Clemson verbal commitments. Dalen Everett's another one, but he plays corner. And in this game, how do you showcase a corner? Well, they can't get the ball up. There's no intended target.
Yeah.
And so everything's happening at the line of scrimmage. So the back-end players for IMG are having one of those days where they just got to play what I call cat coverage. You got this cat, you got that cat, you got that cat. Because right now, this defensive front is really been the story for IMG, and the back-end players haven't had many opportunities.
That was Campbell walking off on his own. In 2019, Clemson had 3 defensive linemen taken in the first 17 picks.
We'll get ready
Cleveland
here
Farrell.
in the next 2 years.
Yeah, that was Farrell, Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, and then Austin Bryant went in the 4th round. Pollard running toward the sideline and driven hard out of bounds. There is Jonel Aguero, top 25 prospect, and the ESPN Junior 300, another flag. Running clock.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 7, 15-yard penalty, result is a 1st down.
Is that post whistle? Because I didn't see anything that looked to be unsportsmanlike in the tackle along the sideline.
Correction, third down.
After the play, let's see if we can tell. Wow, okay.
All right.
What do you like about Aguero?
Range. You know, you talk about positionless players. I think he could be a nickel linebacker. I think he could end up being a high point safety, a strong safety. So there's some positional versatility and scheme versatility with him.
Jonathan Mambilla in there now at quarterback for Bishop Sycamore.
Also listed as a defensive back wide receiver.
Complete to Joshua Lorick. First down, Bishop Sycamore. Some confusion in getting the play in. Too high, tipped, intercepted. Picked off by Travion Howard, his second interception of the game.
Johnny on the spot, the Northwestern verbal commitment, right in the right place at the right time. Once again, a high throw on the slant route is going to lead to trouble on the tipped ball, leads to the interception. Second one of the game, as you mentioned, Anish, for this defense. And the offense comes back on the field. I'm hoping we get an opportunity, as I mentioned, as IMG takes the field on offense, and Jeff Blake and the offensive staff for IMG give Ryan Downs an opportunity to maybe throw the ball here a little bit. I know what the score is. I understand they've been able to run the football at will, but if at some point or another you're going to have to play with this true freshman quarterback, and it actually looks like A.J. Duffy's still in the game, which is shocking to me right now.
Duffy's in there along with the sophomore Gage, who gets the call. Stacy Gage already has garnered a ton of interest and 20-plus offers, including Ohio State and LSU.
One of the reasons why the Florida State commit at quarterback and A.J. Duffy may be playing is he didn't have the opportunity to play as a junior. So,
right.
You know, because of the pandemic, he transfers at IMG out of Southern California. And listen, he needs reps too. I can see that side of it. But just handing it off doesn't get him reps.
Last week against Plantation Heritage was his first start since 2019. Duffy moving the pocket. And scampers out of bounds, third down.
One of the things about Duffy is, number one, he's a good athlete, but he's a good enough athlete to where if he had to take off and run, he could take off and run and make something happen. But most importantly, it's the ability to extend the play. Buy that second passing chance. Avoid a negative play because you've got some mobility and some athleticism and some initial quickness with your feet.
A Florida State commit, the number 2 pocket passer in the country. He'll keep it on the read option. He's got a big lane, lowers the shoulder inside the 10, first and goal. Luke's, when you're evaluating quarterbacks now, we have 2 categories, dual threat and pocket passer. And Duffy's listed as a pocket passer, but these days you've got to be able to do a little of that, don't you?
You got to be athletic enough, right? You don't have to be Lamar Jackson, all right? But you do have to be able to get out of trouble. You do have to be able to keep your eyes downfield under duress and get out of trouble.
Gage, showing off the moves. Whoa! Stacy Gage gave us one of the better 4-yard runs you'll see.
Well, when you were asking me earlier who he reminds me of, and I would have said Noel Devine out of West Virginia, out of the 2007 class, out of North Fort Myers, just the swerve and the wiggle, and he's just so fluid and really sudden.
Devine ended up at West Virginia. He and Steve Slayton, that was some backfield.
Timeout. Bishop Sycamore. Their second of the half.
A timeout by Bishop Sycamore, 3:02 to go, 2nd and goal. So A.J. Duffy still in there at quarterback. You played the position, so what goes into evaluating a quarterback?
Well, I think that there are two things that are more important than anything else, all right? And that's accuracy and decision making. Now here's 5 things here that I think are obviously very, very important. You look to see what type of delivery the guy has. Can he get rid of the football? Can he get rid of the football with different use of arm angles when things aren't perfect, or you're off platform, or you're throwing it back across your body? The reads goes with decision making. It doesn't matter how big you are, how fast you are, how strong your arm is. If you are not accurate and you don't make good decisions, you're going to struggle to maximize your productivity. And so at the end of the day, playing the position can be in many ways way more about about those two things than it is about physical tools. And it's easy to get enamored with the physical tools. But you've got to put the ball at the right place. You got to get out of a bad play and into a good one, and you got to be able to run the show.
Gage reaching, and he is in. The sophomore who has been called in print the LeBron of youth football. Hey, that's the world we live in, right? Hyperbole rules.
You know, it's interesting when you start making comparisons, and often people will say, he just said he's going to be so-and-so. No. We said that he has some traits or has some things that remind us of that player.
44-0 IMG. This is the final game of kickoff weekend, and we have a lot of talent and a lot of different schools represented where these kids are committed to, from the Northeast to the Midwest to the South. Obviously, we're in Texas. How about Kansas?
Look at the Beavers out there. Look at them over there on the left coast.
Corvallis holding down the fort. A weekend to recap, Luke. So we saw Jordan James for Oakland. He's headed to Georgia. Smooth runner, at a couple of touchdowns, including a 55-yarder.
Yeah, I think, you know, the one thing, and over the years of doing these high school games, and you get high-profile players, and sometimes when the bright lights come on and the TV cameras start rolling, you don't always get a great performance. And maybe a guy doesn't perform to the level that, after you've been watching him for 2 to 3 years, that you'd expect him to. That hasn't been the case this weekend. Again, I would add that Gunnar Stockton at Ribbon County last night versus Pace Academy, 7 touchdowns accounted for, again, as advertised. So, you know, the big names showed up to the bright lights this weekend.
Canton, Ohio, Hall of Fame Stadium, the site for this game. You ready for some Canton trivia, Luke's?
All right, throw it at me. Let's see where I stand.
All right, whose presidential library is in Canton, Ohio?
Presidential library is in Canton, Ohio. I have no idea. I have not even close.
William McKinley, the 25th president who was assassinated.
Why do you even know that? What is the matter with you?
Have you seen any good movies lately? We could go that way too.
Hey, do you want? Here's one for you. What Hall of Fame 2021 inductee?
Third and final timeout of the half. Bishop Sycamore.
Did I
30-second timeout.
Ooh, okay. So you went to high school in California, right?
For 1 year. He was a senior. I was a freshman.
So it would not be Drew Pearson. That was well before your time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be John Lynch.
It is. It's John Lynch. That's right. He was an all-state quarterback going into his senior year, opening game of the year, his senior season. He breaks his ankle, a severe break. Doesn't play a snap the rest of his senior year. Moves on to Stanford, plays quarterback for the first 2.5 years. It's not working out. Transitions to defense, and the rest is history.
One of the best safeties we've seen, and obviously we do care about health and hard hits, and they're not viewed the same way in the NFL as they were. But in the era that he played in, a few guys brought it like John Lynch, few guys in the history of the game. He's up there with the Jack Tatums and the Ronnie Lotts.
Yeah, Ronnie Lott, Steve Atwaters, some of those. I mean, yeah, it was a different time, a different era. But boy, you talk about playing with reckless abandon. Great baseball player too.
Was he?
Great baseball player.
False start. Offense number 2. 5-yard penalty. First down.
I got more on McKinley, by the way.
Can you give me some good trivia? And no baseball.
All right, we'll come up with something. That's a way to keep our folks staying tuned.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we were wondering the same thing.
Encroachment. Defense number 22. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's James Smith, number 2 D tackle in the ESPN Junior 300, and Ashraf Tom Luganville. Hey, we're happy to have football back. We know we had a weather delay. This game has not been what we envisioned, but the season is back. Already angst at Nebraska after a loss to Illinois yesterday. Hope in Champaign, UCLA.
They're not even snapping.
Yep.
Coach Kelly's 4th season as quarter number 3 comes
That's
to
the
an
end of the third quarter.
12 more minutes to go in this one. We got to come up with some trivia in this commercial break. The Valhalla of football, the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, the cradle of professional football. And we promised more trivia as you look at the class of 2021. Who was the first president of the NFL?
First president of the NFL? Was this prior
Yes.
to there being a commissioner?
So it used to be the American Professional Football Association. It was renamed to the National Football League in 1922. And yes, kind of like a commissioner, they named a certain individual the league's first president. He is well known. He is in the Hall of Fame. That's
George
my only
Halas?
hint. No.
Pretty good guess.
Good guess. Yes, good guess, but it was not George Halas.
All right, I'm out of guesses.
He is known for having a college football award named after him.
Is it Outland?
No.
Nagurski?
No. It's not Maxwell or Heisman either.
It's not Butkus. Is it Thorpe?
It's Thorpe, Jim Thorpe.
There you go.
This one's picked off. Jim Thorpe would have liked it. Desmond Ricks. Yeah, the story goes at the Hupmobile showroom in the Independent Order of Odd Fellows building. That was the name of the building. That's where they came up with the NFL. That's where the founding happened in 1920, initially called the American Professional Football Association, renamed a couple of years later to the NFL, all here in Canton, Ohio.
You are digging deep, pal.
Scoreboard. We get to see the freshman quarterback now, Ryan Downs, came in for a spell late in that second quarter. He'll hand it off. It's Gage, and he'll waltz in. 50 for IMG.
I'll tell you, with some of these 2023 prospects, 2024 prospects, and 2025 that we're seeing late in this game, this program appears to be in really, really good hands going forward. Obviously, notwithstanding the seniors and juniors that have been as advertised today, obviously completely outmanning the competition, but they did come to perform.
The Geico player of the game is Katron Allen, Penn State commit, part of the #1 recruiting class in the country. 169 yards, better than 10 yards a carry, 2 TDs.
And bruising, aggressive, runs angry. I just like how he showed a little bit of everything. You know, he's got the speed, power, quickness, vision, showed some patience. But if you're going to get in his way, you better be prepared.
Penn State, a proud tradition of running backs. Most recently, you had Saquon Barkley. Let's not forget Kajana Carter, who was terrific in college. So was Blair Thomas, Larry Johnson, Kurt with a C.
That's it.
Curtis Enos as well, draft pick of the Bears. That's Katron's family. Are they weathered the long delay?
Got front row seats.
"12 ESPN 300 prospects committed to Penn State. Allen's the 13th ranked running back. The #7 running back, Nicholas Singleton, also committed to Penn State. We brought up the point yesterday in our broadcast, and you brought it up well. You can't just have one guy anymore back there.
No, you really can't, and not in this game. And I think running backs are, they know that now. They expect that. They realize they're going to get enough turns, and if they have aspirations of playing at the next level, you can't have a bunch of mileage on the chassis and expect to last very long. So when you do get subbed in and out, and you have your opportunities, there's plenty of totes to go around.
Incomplete. That's a great point, because in years past, you might say, wait a minute, I got to split carries, and now you may look at it, well, okay, NFL scouts and GMs may not want a guy with a higher workload.
There's no question about it. I mean, you look at some of those Alabama teams, and you had Trent Richardson, and then you had a couple other guys that were spelled in there. Then Derrick Henry he didn't burst onto the scene with them. He was kind of in the rotation and played. But Mark Ingram was another one that shared the backfield with Trent Richardson, when Trent was just a true freshman. So we've seen that at Georgia, and we've seen the success of it. And there's just too much wear and tear, too much pounding that goes, the Herschel Walkers, the Bo Jacksons, those load carriers that we're going to take just about every rep. That's a bygone era.
That's a pretty good tandem for IMG. Katron Allen, Stacey Gage, senior and sophomore.
Best team in the nation, baby. Number one in the nation. You hear me? Tell them. Come on, man.
Hard to argue that point, though. This game notwithstanding, just based on the talent they have. You said it, all-time talent.
Yeah, and listen, they beat American Heritage last week, which is a really strong powerhouse in the state of Florida, and they didn't play well, and still won fairly convincingly. So when they're hitting on all cylinders, regardless of who's on their schedule, it's going to be tough sledding.
Downfield into coverage. Looked like Saab had it picked off, then fumbled it. And it belongs to Bishop Sycamore. So the interception by Keon Saab, the Clemson commit, and then he fumbles it away. And it's recovered by Bishop Sycamore.
And they end up gaining some yardage here. So good for them offensively, but again, a big no-no throwing back across your body. And Keon Saab's, again, no review in high school football, but he just gets sloppy with the football as he's going to the ground. And we've stated, earlier, Anish, it's tough for these secondary players to make a lot of plays on the ball when the ball's rarely actually getting to the back end because of the pressure that's been created by IMG.
Cameron Leonard may have jumped.
Encroachment, defense number 6, 5-yard penalty, first down.
It is Leonard, ESPN Junior 300 prospect. Intercepted again. They give it right back. And Ade Ajanku Willie makes it a pick 6.
Another underclassman, Anish, in the defensive back end. They've just got so many players to rotate through, and there doesn't seem to be a drop-off in talent.
Pepper Johnson, the head coach in the gray sweats. A great linebacker for the Giants, later with the Browns, finished his career with the Jets. And, you know, we didn't get a chance to talk to Pepper this week. No media, he said. So we were not allowed to talk to Pepper. But you look at his defensive background. He played for Bill Parcells. His defensive coordinator with the Giants was Bill Belichick, and his head coach when he played for the Browns was Bill Belichick.
Yeah, listen, a storied career, played for an awful long time in a rugged, different NFL, right? Didn't have many of the player protections that we have now. And, you know, the collisions and the wear and tear on the body. And 13 seasons as a linebacker is a long, long time. So obviously took care of himself. And that was a heck of a linebacking core, man, that they had in New York. Holy smokes.
Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, that defense, that was the philosophy for Parcells, right? Run the football, play defense, and it's Pepper, it's LT, it's Banks, Leonard Marshall, and then you had, what, Joe Morris and later Otis Anderson running the football.
That's right, yeah. Dave Meggett.
Dave Meggett, terrific on special teams, and had a terrific tight end on those teams too, Mark Bavaro.
Bavaro, sure.
You know, we're going to finish number 1 next year. Ring season part 2. You know what it is, 203, repping CT. I say how my family. Yeah, stay tuned. We got a lot more games with y'all. We're going to keep putting on the show.
This game in Ohio, where the school, the Ohio State University, continues to recruit well. 9 ESPN 300 commits, 4th best recruiting class in the country as of now. What jumps out to you in this class?
More defense, more speed, tall corners, front 7 players. You know, it's the 4th ranked recruiting class. You know, I think what we've seen over the last, 10 years or so is, the teams that have averaged a top 10 recruiting class, all right, have all at some point or another made the college football playoff, won a college football playoff game, or won the national championship. So if you're going to be in that top 5 mix, that top 5 discussion, then you're going to be in the mix on the field each and every year. That's something that has been proven.
Oh, my God.
Booker lost the football, but they say he was down. Actually, that was from Billa. Now, this is, to your point, look at the champions,
right,
and look at their recruiting ranks in those seasons. Or the classes for the cumulative classes that led to that championship season.
Yep, leading into that season, and so the numbers don't lie there, and so and that's why also you will have, let's just say, sometimes a bit of an outlier. You'll have we've had Michigan State do it before, but that's not going to be the norm. It's going to be the exception, and the gap that is being created between the Clemsons and the Ohio States and the Alabamas and sometimes the the Georgias and the LSUs and the Auburns has been pretty significant, and there's been one common denominator as you look at all of those teams. They have been dominant football teams in either the offensive line, defensive line, or both. That's what separated them from everybody else. And so you take a look at the class rankings here for the 2022 class, you're seeing the usual suspects. Georgia, LSU, Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame starting to pop up there, and really, I think they've gained a lot of traction in the last couple of years, particularly getting better personnel along their defensive front. They've got to get better skilled weapons. If Notre Dame can somehow come up with a Justin Ross, a Garrett Wilson, a Chris Olave, a Devontae Smith, that's the next evolution, I think, of Notre Dame's recruitment.
Mambilla throws it downfield into coverage. Flag is down. Pass incomplete. And that's Dylan Everett, the Clemson commit.
Pass interference. Defense number 15. 15-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
Corey Jackson flagged for pass interference.
He too just a sophomore. A lot of youth on the field right now getting some valuable snaps for IMG to help them get through the gauntlet of what is going to be a difficult schedule down the stretch.
Batted around and nearly intercepted again. We are in the final minute of this game. Kickoff weekend about to come to an end. Football's back. College football is back. We got a glimpse this weekend, Lugs, at who's next.
Well, yeah, you know, it's always fun because, you know, you start to do these games, which we've done now for well over 15, 16 years, and the names start rolling through, and then the next thing you know, you have an impact freshman. Next thing you know, you've got a freshman All-American. You have a 3-and-out first-round draft choice. And, you know, if you're a fan of college football, you're a fan of recruiting, to be able to see them on this stage before they've ever even stepped foot on the college landscape or the gridiron for a college football team, it's not too difficult to tell sometimes that some of these guys aren't going to have a very steep learning curve.
There's James Smith,
Timeout.
number 2
IMG
defensive
Academy.
tackle.
And
the number 12 overall prospect in the ESPN Junior 300. He's got offers from Bama and Auburn, Florida State, and Georgia as IMG calls a timeout. 17 seconds to go in this one from Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio.
I don't know what the explanation is for calling a timeout right there. I don't know how it benefits IMG. I don't know how in any way, shape, or form it has any type of impact on Bishop Sycamore. It's inexplainable.
We've seen that a couple of times today. No victory formation. Are they going to throw it here with Ryan Downs? Now they'll run it. Up the middle, it's Roderick Gainey. 7 seconds, and hopefully we let the clock run down. And that will do it. IMG Academy came into this game with 20 players in the ESPN 300 or ESPN Junior 300. They win it 58-0 against Bishop Sycamore. That does it for us. For Tom Luganbill, I'm Anish Shroff. Enjoy the weekend.